Hello and welcome to the Good Old Days. I'm Pat Riley. Our host is our retired selectman, Don McKinnon. Welcome, Don.
Thank you, Patricia.
And we have our special guest returning for a
Who
second show.
Who might that be?
Our superintendent of schools, Dr. Jacqueline Forbes. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Good to see both of you.
You've made it through another school year.
Yes, we have a very successful one. And I noticed that the title of this show is The Good Old Days. Well,
But there's something else.
John,
to that.
explain about
It's
how.
either these are the good old days, those were the good old days.
well,
We can't lose.
now that I'm ancient history,
You're those.
I'm probably
those.
one of those were the good old
The last
days.
broadcast, you were these. So the good old days. Now it's those were the good old days.
As I'm sure our audience knows, you have announced your intention to retire from your position as our superintendent of schools.
Yes, that was a very sad decision to make. I made that with mixed emotions because this has been my home for the last 7 years, and I absolutely love both Raynham and Bridgewater and the district, and so I will miss my friends desperately. But it's time for me to spend time with my husband and our family. So,
Everything has its season.
yes, it does.
And so before we go, though, I want you to answer me, what was the biggest pleasure and what was the biggest problem in 7 years?
We call them challenges, Don.
I'm a selectman. What was the biggest challenge and what was your greatest pleasure?
I think the greatest pleasure and accomplishment was implementing the full-day kindergarten program and having town fathers and a school committee that supported that decision because our parents needed that program. So many of them are double income families, they're working, and our children need the competitive edge. And when you're only in kindergarten 2.5 hours as opposed to a full day, I think we're shortchanging the children, especially when we're in competition with other communities in Massachusetts that have full day kindergarten. And our assessments are coming in now, and we're starting to see that the children are really improving in the areas of reading skills and mathematics. So we're very pleased with that. I think that is one of the greatest accomplishments. Certainly was my pleasure to have a committee that allowed us to do that. It was difficult to have the Kindergarten Plus program where only some who could afford to pay for it would have a full day program, but now it's open and available to all. And to me, that will be part of my legacy about what we've accomplished here. So I'm very appreciative of that. And the biggest challenge, well, always finances are a challenge. We want to deliver the best education we can that's not going to break the backs of the taxpayers. So that's always a challenge. And dealing with facilities, the tremendous snowfall that we had this year, over 100 inches. We seem to be the epicenter here in Bridgewater and Raynham for a blizzard and 4 major storms, and that was very challenging in terms of the safety of the schools, getting the students coming to school, keeping the schools open, watching the budget so that we didn't break the bank when we knew that clearing the roofs would cost over $400,000. So that was a big challenge, but always budgeting and financing is, to me, the greatest challenge.
Do you set up 2 or 3 budgets? Because I always say superintendents do, even if you deny it. I apologize to you and your family. But as a selectman, I used to always see a superintendent would come in and they'd say, we really need this. And then, no, you can't have this. Oh, okay. And then and then drawer number 2 would come up.
Well, I don't say that I have multiple budgets, but what we do is I go in to the school committee in January with the superintendent's budget, and that's a needs-based budget. These are the needs of the district. These are the things that we would absolutely love to have, but we can't always afford them. In a good year, I'd have one budget and we could have everything. But I know that that has to be balanced with the practical side and what can we afford. And so I work with the school committee to make reductions. This year we made reductions of $4.2 million. Now, does that mean I'm a crazy woman and I just throw everything in that we can't afford? No. But what I do is I build a program that if we were able to not have financial worries, what do we need in biology class? What do we need in AP physics? What do we need for the best, the ideal programs?
So there's a way to modify.
Yes, and so the school committee works with me and we make reductions, but we don't have budgets, and we haven't had budgets that shortchange the learner or the teacher, so or the staff. So I feel very comfortable with that. But that is the process. It's almost like a wish list, needs-based budget, and then the real budget that the taxpayers and the towns can support and afford.
But it's important to have that initial budget, so
Oh,
it's almost
yes.
like a blueprint of where you want to go and what's important to keep in mind, even if you can't fund it all in a particular year.
It puts everybody on notice and the school committee. Here are the things that we need, but we can't afford it all, so we prioritize, we reduce things, but we know for the following year, you know, if we need that skeleton to be in the physiology class, and we can't afford it now, well, let's see if we can next year. It's, you know, something simple like that.
Did you go to a full-time kindergarten as a child?
No, I did not.
Nor did I. Pat, did you go to full-time?
No.
No? Well, so much for us.
The times are changing. Those little ones are smarter now than we used
What's
to
with
be.
us? How come we got where we were?
I don't
It
know.
was another time.
It was.
It certainly was, yes.
Yeah.
Those were the good old days. I only went to a half-time kindergarten. The expectations were a little bit different then. Our standards are different, and standards drive education pretty much. And so we're very fortunate.
But you did have a part-time kindergarten anyway. There was
Yes.
a half a kindergarten.
Right, but I had
We
a
used to go, like,
full-time
there's
mom.
the name of a place we used to go. Do you remember? I don't remember. There was a place. Not me, when I had trouble getting out of the first grade. I'm talking about there was times, you know, when my kids were young, when we had to send them to a brick house.
Oh, it's a private. That's a private.
We sent
school.
them to private
kindergarten.
and didn't have it. And then one time a kid in the first grade wasn't capable to go into the first grade because they were so used to kids coming out of the brick house. That's when we started to have something anyway. in Raynham.
Now, Dr. Forbes, maybe you can give us a little background about yourself before you arrived here at Bridgewater Raynham.
I'd be happy to. I want to go back
Just
to
for the
what
historical.
I
what
want
we
to go
said
back
for
to
the
kindergarten. No, I want to go
Kindergarten first,
Patricia,
okay, but
I know.
after, okay.
My mom stayed home and raised 7 children.
Wow.
We
and
did-
you were what in position?
I
to
was
the
number
se-
3.
3.
I was
Oh.
the second daughter, but times were different. I would go home from kindergarten on the bus, and I would spend the afternoon with Mother. I'd have, you know, and my siblings. I'd have a snack, then I'd go out to play. Then I'd come and sit on the porch swing. We would swing, and she would read to me. We had TV, but it was about this big,
Yeah.
and we only watched TV shows Sunday nights. Walt Disney World, and then on Saturday mornings we had, I'm trying to think of some of the shows that we watched. I can't even, Sky King was one of them, some of the old shows.
And
But
where was this, Jim?
that was in Strasburg, Pennsylvania. So I was born in the breadbasket of the United States.
Your father's occupation?
He was an executive, and we lived next to a Mennonite farm in the heart of Amish country.
Wow.
And so my summers were spent helping prepare for Saturday market, gathering the eggs from the chickens, going up to the pond to bring the cows back for milking. I used to help with the chickens, plucking the feathers off the chickens, getting them ready to go to market to sell. I used to go out to the gardens and pick the tomatoes, the zucchinis, the asparagus, the potatoes, the cucumbers. So I was a farm girl growing up and really, really enjoyed it. And then in 6th grade, my father and mother moved the family to Rhode Island.
Oh, excuse me for pausing a minute. Talk about the difference in the world.
And that's when I discovered
Federal Hill? Did you move to Federal Hill?
No.
Oh, okay.
We
Well, I
moved
didn't
to
know that's
Barrington.
where the mafia was. I'm sorry.
Yes, to Barrington, which is a suburban community.
Barrington, very nice community.
And that's where I fell in love with the ocean and the river and learned about quahogs and New England. And that's been my home ever since that. So that's been
No more farm
no more farm.
at grade 6 on.
No,
But
kind
with
of like
7 children, wow, I mean, and you were number 3.
Number
so there were
3.
4 more yet to come. Stay tuned
yes.
for Jackie's family.
And so I started off as a teacher on the front porch of our farmhouse in Pennsylvania. I'd line up the neighbor children, 2 across the street, and my younger brothers and sisters, and I was the school marm, and we would play school. And that's when it started, Don.
but that's the way it is. Like my family's teachers from 18 something, and that's the way it goes. You become a teacher. When I was younger, they'd say to me, "When are you going into teaching?" That was the question. When are you going into teaching? And I was in business at the time. So you became a teacher by virtue of your family. You became the instructor or the teacher. And then when you graduate, what college did you go to?
I went to Rhode Island College
So you stayed
as
in
an
Rhode Island.
as an undergraduate.
Right.
Then I went to the university.
And that's a good school, by the way.
Oh, yes, it is. It's the foremost teacher college in Rhode Island, similar to Bridgewater State University here
Sure.
in Massachusetts.
Sure.
It produces more teachers than any other university or college. Then I went to the University of Rhode Island for a master's in English and British literature. And then after that, I was teaching high school English. That's how I started out.
In Rhode Island.
In Rhode Island at Barrington High School, the highest performing high school in the state. And I noticed that some of my students were struggling. They couldn't read, and I was just flabbergasted. So
Well, then you didn't get the academics. You didn't get the APs.
No. As a new teacher going in,
Yeah.
you get the children who are struggling, and I loved it. I loved working with those students, but I also taught writing. You kind of get the courses that the more senior teachers don't want to teach. So I taught technical writing, creative writing, compository writing, and I loved that. I really got to know the students, but I also loved working with the children who had difficulty reading Shakespeare and Beowulf and couldn't find relevance or meaning. So I went back to Rhode Island College and got a second master's in reading because I just made up my mind that any child that I came in contact with was going to know how to read, because if they couldn't read, they would be doomed for a life of poverty and struggle.
Is it wrong for me to say, because I somewhat feel that in my family, that reading is the key?
Oh, it absolutely is the key. You have to have language
Yeah.
and you have to be able to read. And so I thought, how am I going to help these struggling high school students if I don't know how to unlock the code of reading? And so I became a reading consultant specialist and started teaching reading at the high school. And I did also teach English. And those students I was able to help. And that gave me perhaps the greatest reward.
Did you take them from where they really were, remedial, and then you created a product, if you will, of advanced reading?
Yes. What I tried to do was learn techniques to help them decode. And once they could decode and know the sounds and be able to sound out words and put them together, then they could learn how to read. And it was just like teaching kindergarten and first graders. Doesn't matter how old you are. If you can't unlock the code, you can be 90. We can teach
Some
you how
feel
to
it's-
read.
There is too late, though. You didn't think it was too late. Because
It's never
sometimes-
too late.
All right, okay. I
Now
love
in-
that you're saying that, because that's one of the feelings that kids who don't do it early, it's too late for them. But
Oh,
you
it's
say
never
no.
too late. And what we have now here in Bridgewater Raynham is as soon as we discover that a student is having difficulty reading, whether it's dyslexia or some type of reading disability, we have a variety of reading teachers and reading programs, and we know that our programs Lexia, Systems 44, and Read 180 will take a non-reader and turn them into a reader. And it doesn't matter if you're 5 or 17, you can learn how to read. And so to me, that was a great pleasure in teaching. And then I became a reading teacher for the district in Barrington, and in charge of the Title I program and all of the reading teachers in the district. So I shifted from teaching English and writing to teaching reading for the district
Would
and
you say
overseeing that program.
teaching teachers?
Teaching teachers as well as students.
Right.
And then I looked around and said, you know what? I'd like to see more reading going on. And this principal won't let us. And I said, I think I need to become an administrator, because the key is not just reading what's in the book, the basal reader, but it's reading quality literature. And we happened to have a principal who didn't believe in that, who thought the only reading we should do is read out of a textbook. And I thought, how limiting. So I went back and got my principal certification and waited for the opportunity, and then was able to become an administrator, a principal, and run the reading programs that I wanted, and had the highest scores, and was very, very pleased with that. And so were the teachers, because there was a big shift in education at the time. We were trained to read out of basals. That's what we all learned how to read, see, spot, run, and we were limited to those. And I felt, and the research that was coming out at the time felt, that you needed to supplement that with quality literature. And I wanted my teachers to be able to do that. And so that was what got me going. I thought we could do a better job with teaching reading, and the rest is history. So I really, felt that reading was the key, Don.
How did you find time to have 7 children? Oh, you didn't have.
I didn't have them,
Okay.
but I raised 4 of them.
I digress.
That's all right. I
I went
raised.
back to the original.
Well, because I was a bossy little thing and loved to be a school marm,
Yeah.
when I was growing up, my mother would say, "Now, Jackie, I need some help. I want you to take the children out to play." And then my baby brother was born when I was in 9th grade, and I was mortified. My mother had a baby, and I'm in 9th grade.
Yeah.
Well, Dawn, you'll get a kick out of this. I'd come home from school, and she'd say, take your little brother with you, whether it was to the store or to go to the Dairy Queen or to go on a date. I had my little brother.
That's funny.
And so he's...
Is he the one that went into the military?
Yes.
I know why now.
To get away from me.
No, the structure of it all.
That's
When he went in, he said, "You think this is tough? You should meet my sister."
right. He went everywhere with me, on the back of my bicycle, to the library,
That's
swimming in
funny.
the river or down to the beach, whatever it was. So I always had children around me in my care.
Yeah.
And, it was old-fashioned. I used to go home, take care of the children. I would help Mother prepare dinner. We had mashed potatoes at every meal, practically, to make sure we could feed everybody. We're not Irish, but,
No, but
German, English, and out of the farm country. So we
I
always...
think the Queen's German, isn't she?
Yes, I believe she is.
Yes, she is. Thank you for asking.
And when we
In case
found you,
people forget, they think she's British.
Oh, no.
No. Kaiser von Wilhelm was a great uncle or something or other. I don't know.
Well, our background is we're the British baker, but the German Cather. And you might have heard of the author Willa Cather.
No.
She was she wrote My Antonia and a lot of this popular stories about Americans going west in the Conestoga wagons. She is a first cousin of my grandmother.
Oh, wow. That's close.
That's close. So that's pretty much our makeup, with a little bit of Irish and Welsh thrown in along the way.
Yeah, they tend to get in the way.
Right. So Northern European, I guess.
Now, when you applied for the superintendency at Bridgewater Raynham, you were at the time superintendent in Providence.
In East Providence,
East
yes, the
Providence.
5th largest urban district. And I cut my teeth in East Providence as a director of elementary ed, then the assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction, school improvement. So my charge, and this is where I got my experience, was to take a failing urban district and turn those schools into high performing, which we did. Excuse me. One of our elementary schools became a national blue ribbon school. Both of our middle schools became high performing. The folks at the State Department of Education said, we can't believe you did that. It was really amazing. But it came down to the agreements that we had with the teachers. I asked them, what do you need? What do you need to be high performing? And they said, well, we need professional development. We need some time to work with each other and with our children. We need this and that. And so we put those into place. And so I went from being assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction and school improvement into straight assistant superintendent, which is a line position where you can hire and fire.
This is why you kind of prefer someone climbing the ladder.
Absolutely.
I know you had a little, somebody was trying to jump the chess mates, and you said, oh, no, wait a minute now, we go in order.
Well, and then I became superintendent
Okay, so
for
you
2
did-
years.
You did the order
Yes,
of it all.
I like climbing through the ranks because what it does is it gives you credibility. You know every aspect of the job, and hopefully you'll never forget how difficult it is to be in a classroom with 25 little ones all day and to keep them learning and progressing 180 years. It is not an easy job, and I really value and appreciate the work of our faculty. And also, you learn that no school is going to be successful, or district, without the support of your secretaries, your paraprofessionals, your custodians, and you live with these people more than you spend time with your
But
own
your
family.
training allowed you, however, to leave what? Well, see, I was a school teacher. And once a coordinator said to me, how come you didn't go for this job? Coordinator, next step up. I said, because it doesn't look like fun. I had fun. And so I believe you're either going to be at the bottom or the top. So, but you climbed the chairs in between. I didn't have that ambition. I would have been superintendent if they came in and said to me one day, Don, you want to be superintendent? I said, yeah, I'll give that a try. Because that's where I like, top or bottom.
Well, I was a happy high school reading teacher,
Yeah,
and
that's what I know you.
Dr. Streifer, who was the new superintendent, came in and said, can I use you as a guinea pig? And I said, what for? And he said, our new evaluation model. And I said, sure, if you tell me what I'm not doing well on. If you will give me honest feedback and help me improve so I can help these kids, I'll be happy to do that. So he used me as a guinea pig, and there were 83 competencies, and I got them all. And I said, wow, help me improve. And he did. And he said, now, Jackie, I want you to go to this seminar. And I said, what seminar? And he said, it's an executive seminar put on by NASDAQ to see if you have leadership qualities. And I said, well, what's that entail? And he said, well, you go for a weekend and then you come back and I get the report. And I said, well, what if I don't have any leadership? I said, I'll be embarrassed in front of you. And he said, don't worry. So I said, okay, I'll do it. So I went and spent a weekend at a local college, and I had to go through 12 different categories to determine if I had leadership abilities. And the report came back 2 months later, and he called me to his office. And you know how when you go to the principal's office, you're like, well, I went into the superintendent's office, and he sat me down. You know, I felt like a little kid in front of the principal. And he said, just what I thought. And I'm thinking, oh no.
What did
He's-
you think?
I said, oh no, I don't want to disappoint him. I want to be the best I can be. And he said, you aced it. You nailed it in all 12. Now I want you to get your principalship. And so I did. But that executive training
Yeah.
was really, really important. It gave me confidence in the areas of leadership. And then I became a principal and became, as I said earlier, I went through the ranks. There's value in going through the ranks, Don,
But
and I found pleasure at every
You
step.
enjoyed leadership, though. There's a lot of people that don't enjoy leadership,
Correct.
and they don't because they don't enjoy making decisions. And you did both evidently and enjoyed it. You had a good time, Jackie. You've
Oh,
had a
yes.
good run, haven't you?
Oh, yes, I have.
This is why we brought you in here for the
41 years, and I'm now in my 8th year here in BR.
Oh my God, you're
and
only 35 years of age. This is amazing.
That's right. Can you imagine that? The thing about decision making is this,
Yeah.
Don. I'm not afraid to ever make a decision. And I will make a spot decision because I trust my gut, I trust my instinct. And I make the best decision I can with the information at that time. If the information changes, I will modify my decision. But you will not get a maybe. People look to a leader for a decision.
Sure.
And I will give you that
Yeah.
in 30 seconds if it takes me that long if I
This
have
is
to.
tough to retire, Jackie, from, isn't it?
Oh, yes,
Because
it is.
You've been in the cat's chair for quite a while, haven't you? And now you have to go home and just do the groceries. And
Well, I'll
Pat the
probably
cat and-
be on some boards in the community that I'm
what
living
town are
in.
you in?
I'm going to Naples, Florida.
Oh.
My husband needs to be in a warm climate.
Okay.
So we're going to, I hope he's looking forward to spending time with me. It's going to be difficult, but we'll have a good adjustment. But we need to have a warmer climate for our health, to
Okay.
maintain our health.
Right.
And so the decision was really regarding health issues. If we had good health, I wouldn't be saying goodbye to BR. I just love it here. I love every day I wake up, drive to work. It's just, there's too much to do.
You've got a chairman that everybody loves.
Oh,
Right.
absolutely. Who
But
allows
the amazing
us.
thing about Dr. Forbes is she will bring in some new program or new development, and she gets so excited about
Yeah.
it. There's so much passion in what she does that you just can't help. It's contagious.
So I'm worried about getting bored, Don.
Okay.
But I've already got my eyes on a few things. I might volunteer at the hospital or the local zoo, the Ed Foundation
I think that's
in
true, though.
Naples.
In retirement, if you do volunteer, you will find that you will be very busy.
And we have her cell phone
Oh,
if
okay.
we need any to consult.
Yes.
Or,
Yeah, answering service. Pat, I'll get back to you.
Oh, that's not true. What I have said to the school committee is that even though I'm saying goodbye, I'm not just going to walk away. As long as the school committee or the leadership has a question or would like my consult on anything, I'd be happy to do that. And I'm not the kind who's going to charge a per diem, Don, just so you know. I would never even think of that.
See, I don't even understand per diem. I don't understand this sort of talk.
Well, sometimes
we just muddle along. where I come
that's
from.
what I do.
Yeah.
I muddle along and you do the right
Yeah.
thing. And if Pat needs a question answered,
Yeah.
or anyone, of course I would.
But you've put so much dedication into this district for the last 7 years now, going on your 8th year, that obviously she wants the district to succeed and go forward
Absolutely.
along the plan that you've established.
Don, when I got here 7 years ago, we were keeping attendance on index cards in pencil. You wanna
be
talk about-
nice now, right, Pat? You told her you said she'd be nice if we invited her back in for the second show.
Well, nowadays that's all computerized.
We've made a lot of progress.
I just want to show you, those were the good old days. Now these are the good old days.
Yeah, but they said that yesterday in Washington. The stock market went down, and so did Washington. So, and the people, the little old person with the pencil is still doing it. So,
Well,
We
the
have
general
backup
ledger
systems.
was kept in pencil in
Yeah.
a big book. That's, that's all changed. We now have our Unifund system, and that was one of the first major decisions. It
Do
was
away with
difficult.
pencils?
No, we still have pencils, but to move our financials into a different platform, into a computerized
Right.
platform.
and it is the time. Isn't it?
Right.
Yeah,
And it was very expensive, and to come up with $166,000 to pay for that and for the training, that was quite a challenge. And that first school committee made that decision, and that was one of the best
Right.
they could have ever made. And it was hard to come up with that funding, but we did it.
Speaking of timing, we are the lights are flashing. We're just about out of time, but we want to thank you for being our guest. This is not Dr. Forbes' last show because we'll have to have you on an inside scoop before
Oh,
you
I'd be
leave
happy
as
to.
well.
I'll
but,
be in the engineer booth going 4, 3, 2, 1.
Our guest today, Dr. Forbes. Thank
Thanks,
you,
Jackie,
Don.
for coming in.
We wanna
Thank you so much.
Thank all of you for being with us as well. We'll see you on the next episode of The Good Old Days.